The movie begins with Trevor watching old tapes of his life, back when he had a small, happy family, just him, his wife, and their daughter, who seems to grow up right before his eyes in the footage. He reminisces about how they used to spend New Year's Eve together. Cut to a year later, and our hero's situation has completely flipped. He lives alone after his wife separated from him, taking their daughter with her. We see him waking up just days before New Year's. The apartment is freezing, and it's obvious his financial situation is a disaster. The man is literally hugging a boiling kettle for warmth, not caring if he gets electrocuted as long as he gets a break from the cold. His ex-wife calls him. It's clear their relationship is still respectful. No messy court battles here. She tells him she's worried because she knows how cold his place gets. Trevor plays it cool, assuring her everything is fine and promising to show them around his place when they visit. She interrupts him to drop a bomb. Her new boyfriend wants to spend Christmas with her and their daughter for the first time. Not only that, but he's offering to pay for the daughter's university tuition. Trevor immediately objects, his pride kicking in. He insists he is the father and he will pay the expenses. She sighs, telling him she'll leave it up to him, but reminds him she was only considering his financial struggles. Ironically, at that exact moment, Trevor gets an eviction notice on his phone. Still, he doubles down, telling her, No, God provides, don't worry about it," and hangs up. On his way to work, he texts his daughter, wishing her a happy new year. He arrives at his job as a school supervisor. The administration welcomes him, only to inform him that he needs to supervise the New Year's play, specifically the baby Jesus role. Then, the manager calls him into her office. With excessive politeness, she fires him. She asks how long he's been with them. When he says 8 months, she replies, "Strange, feels like years." It's clear she has no idea who he is, but Trevor is too stunned to argue. While they are setting up the stage decor, there's a knock at the door. Trevor opens it to find a newborn baby left on the doorstep. Naturally, he assumes this is the actor for the play that the mother sent over. He picks up the cute kid and takes him inside. As the play starts, Trevor checks his bank account. It's not just empty, it's practically in the negative. At that same moment, he gets a call from a recruitment agency asking if he still works as a nanny. Trevor says, "No, I quit that ages ago." But when they mention the salary for a 48-hour gig, Trevor is so shocked by the massive number that he accidentally knocks over the stage set on the kids. He immediately agrees to go to London for the interview. He starts closing up the theater, overjoyed about the new job. But as he locks the doors, he hears a baby crying. He follows the sound and is horrified to find everyone has left and forgotten the prop baby. He can't leave the kid there, especially with those puppy dog eyes staring at him. He picks him up and calls the mother who supposedly dropped him off. She doesn't answer, living in her own world. Trevor decides to go to her house personally so he doesn't miss his interview. When she opens the door, she's holding a baby. Trevor prays it's a twin. It's not. She explains she didn't send her son to the play because he was sick. Trevor realizes he's been holding a random abandoned baby this whole time. He calls the police, explaining the situation. They transfer him to social services, who agree to come pick up the child. Excited that his problem is solved and his new high-paying job is within reach, Trevor takes the baby home to pack. While packing and humming a tune, he suddenly realizes the baby is gone. After a panic-induced search, he finds the kid teetering on the edge of the stairs. He catches him just in time. The police officer finally arrives as agreed, but just as Trevor goes to hand over the child, the baby has vanished again. Trevor runs around frantically looking for him. The officer starts looking at Trevor like he's lost his mind, especially with Trevor shouting baby talk. The officer leaves, handing Trevor his card and telling him to call when he finds the imaginary baby. Of course, the moment the officer drives away, the baby crawls out from hiding. Trevor grabs the kid and chases the police car, but it's too late. He tries calling the number on the card, but gets a voicemail. The officer is off duty until after New Year's. Trevor is desperate. He needs to get to London. He decides to take the baby with him and drop him off at a center on the way. But during the drive, the signal cuts out. He tries to redial the authorities 5 times until his phone battery dies. Defeated, he surrenders to reality. He takes the baby with him to London. He arrives at the interview location and is immediately intimidated by the massive size of the building. He tries his best to hide the kid. When he learns the manager is coming down to meet him personally, he panics and shoves the baby inside his bag. He walks stiffly, like a robot, trying not to jostle the cargo. The manager doesn't seem to notice his weird behavior. She explains that the elevator to the apartment requires a special key card. There are only 2 copies in existence, and one is already lost. She emphasizes that the one she's giving him is the last copy, so he better guard it with his life. As soon as he enters the apartment, he feels like he walked into a palace. The place is massive and luxurious. Honestly, looking at it cures eye strain. Through all this, the baby is still in the bag. Trevor tries to jiggle his body subtly to keep the kid entertained so he doesn't make a noise. The manager notices the twitching and asks if he needs to use the bathroom. At that exact moment, the baby decides he needs to use the bathroom, loudly. Trevor finds himself in an extremely awkward situation. He decides he needs to offload the package. He excuses himself, goes to a corner, and carefully takes off the bag, leaving it out of her sight. He finally relaxes. But while the manager is giving him the tour, the baby crawls out of the bag and starts exploring too. Trevor's heart nearly stops every time the kid gets near something dangerous. Miraculously, the manager remains oblivious and the baby doesn't get hurt. Trevor seizes a moment when her back is turned, sprints over, grabs the baby, and hides him in a wastebasket. Finally, the manager leaves, handing him the precious elevator key card and reminding him one last time, don't lose it. Your job starts now. After she's gone, Trevor basks in the luxury of the apartment, but the baby has other plans and starts whining. Just as our hero tries to quiet him down, the police call. They ask for his current address to send an officer from London. He gives them the details and hangs up quickly to deal with the noise. But as he picks up the baby, a distinct smell hits him. Diaper change time. He frantically searches the apartment for a substitute diaper. He opens a drawer and finds a collection of expensive women's silk scarves. Desperate times call for desperate measures. He grabs one, prepares his triple defense system, plugging his nose, and puts the kid in the sink. Operation Cleanup is a success. Once done, he takes the soiled diaper and tosses it off the terrace, but the whining continues. Trevor realizes, oh right, you haven't eaten since this morning. He makes a bottle, but even after finishing it, the baby is still fussy. Trevor decides he needs to go out and buy proper baby food. He bundles the kid up because it's freezing outside. He finds a random beanie lying around and puts it on the baby's head. They head to the supermarket. Trevor starts grabbing every baby food jar he recognizes, mostly picking the ones his daughter used to like out of habit. On the way back, the policewoman calls again to confirm his details and schedule the pickup for 7 p.m. She asks repeatedly, "Are you sure about the time? Tomorrow is New Year's Eve, and we don't want any mix-ups." He confirms and heads home. Back at the apartment, after feeding and changing the baby, he faces the final boss: sleep. To be fair, the baby starts yawning first. Trevor puts him in his makeshift bed and takes him into the bedroom. He unpacks his own bag, placing the photo of his daughter on the nightstand. Just as he whispers, "Good night," and closes his eyes, a scream pierces the silence. He remembers, right, the kid. He tries everything to get him to sleep, jumping on the bed, pacing the hallway, doing every trick in the book. He's exhausted. Finally, the baby calms down. Turns out it was just a bit of colic. Relieved, Trevor puts him back in bed. The baby smiles peacefully, but the second Trevor moves an inch, the siren starts again. Trevor looks around for a pacifier substitute. He spots a bottle of expensive liquor and grabs the cork. He pops it into the baby's mouth. Perfect pacifier. He manages to sleep for a grand total of 2 hours before the crying starts again. Diaper change. This cycle continues until Trevor has used up almost every silk scarf in the house. Morning comes. Trevor is waiting for a grocery delivery of diapers. Suddenly, he sees the baby climbing the stairs. He sprints, catching him just in time. He mutters to himself, "God help all mothers. This responsibility is insane." Finally, the delivery guy arrives. Trevor tries to answer the intercom, but he fumbles with the buttons. The delivery guy gets impatient and starts to leave. Trevor panics, leaves the baby alone, and rushes down the elevator to catch him. He grabs the diapers, but as he turns to go back up, he realizes with horror he left the elevator keycard inside the apartment. He freezes. The baby is alone upstairs. He starts imagining every possible disaster that could happen. Trevor is now a nervous wreck. He doesn't know what to do about the keycard. He decides to call the cleaning lady, who holds copies of all the access cards. He flips through the reception logbook until he finds her name, but just as he reaches for his phone, he remembers he left it upstairs on the nightstand. We even see a text message light up on the abandoned screen. Suddenly, a neighbor walks by, heading for the elevator. Trevor pounces on the poor guy. "Sir, I'm Trevor, the nanny from upstairs." He starts rambling his life story. The neighbor clearly couldn't care less and tries to step into the elevator to escape. Trevor blocks him. "Wait, I forgot my keycard and came down to call the maid, but I forgot my phone too." The neighbor looks like he's regretting every life choice that led him to this hallway. Trevor practically snatches the neighbor's phone and calls the maid. He asks her to come open the door. She explains she can't do that without the manager's permission. Trevor pleads, "How long will that take? Minutes?" She says, "Maybe 30 minutes. Wait for me." Trevor turns to the neighbor. "Did you hear that? She's calling me back on your phone in 30 minutes. Mind if I hang out with you until then?" The neighbor, who looks like he hasn't smiled since the 90s, reluctantly agrees. Upstairs, Trevor sticks to the neighbor like glue. He follows him into his apartment, where the neighbor's demeanor completely flips. He's warm and loving with his family. Trevor, meanwhile, grabs a cushion, sits on the floor right next to the neighbor, and stares at the phone, waiting for it to ring. Even when the neighbor tries to make a call, Trevor hovers inches away. It's awkward, invasive, and hilarious. Back in the penthouse, the baby has decided to climb Mount Everest, the stairs, and is aiming for the summit. Downstairs, the social services worker finally arrives to pick up the kid. She calls Trevor's phone, but since it's upstairs, she leaves a voicemail saying, "Call us when you're free, or contact the police to arrange a drop-off." At the neighbor's, the phone rings. Trevor lunges for it, but it's the neighbor's daughter video calling from the airport. They exchange pleasantries until the cleaning lady calls on the other line. Trevor rudely cuts off the family reunion, grabs the phone, and confirms the maid will be there in 30 minutes. She arrives, uses her master key to get him into the elevator, and leaves. But as the doors are closing, Trevor realizes he left the bag of diapers outside in the lobby. Panic sets in. He jams his shoe in the door to keep it open. He tests it. It works. He runs to grab the diapers, but the elevator doors keep trying to close, nudging the shoe little by little until, clack, the door shut, taking his shoe up to the penthouse without him. Trevor screams and chases after the maid, who was ordering coffee in the cafeteria. He begs her to open the elevator again. Meanwhile, upstairs, another tenant gets into the elevator with her dog. The dog sees Trevor's lonely shoe and falls in love with it, probably because it smells like eau de desperation. Finally, Trevor gets back into the apartment. Silence. He can't find the baby. He follows a faint sound to the laundry room and finds the kid chilling inside the washing machine drum. Trevor nearly has a heart attack and hugs the boy, grateful he's safe. That night, he leaves another message for social services explaining the mix-up. Just as he's about to sleep, his daughter calls from the airport. Her flight is delayed. She tells him she loves him and apologizes. If it weren't for this trip, I would have spent New Year's Eve with you. Trevor finally falls asleep. Suddenly, he hears noise. The elevator door opens. He investigates and finds a couple with a baby raiding his fridge. They are terrified when they see him. The wife stammers, "We live in the service corridor. We got evicted. We were just hungry." Instead of calling the police, Trevor softens. "I have one of those too," pointing to their baby. He gives them food from the fridge and some of the baby supplies he bought. They leave, grateful but wary. The next morning, Trevor realizes his shoe is still missing, thanks to the dog. He improvises, wearing one shoe and one sock, and takes the baby out for a walk. He meets a group of mothers who coo over the baby. How old is he? Trevor guesses. 3 months? The moms look at the giant baby and then at Trevor with judgment. That is a huge 3-month-old. Trevor tries to save it, takes after his mother. The moms are disgusted by the implication and walk away. Suddenly, his missing shoe comes flying through the air, landing in the street. But before he can grab it, the same dog races over and snatches it. The baby laughs. Trevor, in a stroke of genius, or madness, takes off his other shoe and throws it too. There, problem solved. Now he's walking barefoot. When he returns to the building, he meets the homeless couple again. They thank him for his kindness. They mention they have an errand to run, and Trevor, feeling charitable and insane, offers to babysit their kid too. "I already have one. What's another?" Now he has 2 babies. He attempts to bottle feed them simultaneously, looking like a stressed out octopus. He finally gets them both to sleep in separate cribs. The social services worker arrives. Trevor wakes up, grabs the baby, signs the papers, and hands him over. As she leaves, he feels a pang of sadness. He actually bonded with the little guy. He asks, "What will happen to him?" She replies coldly, "He's not your child, sir. It's confidential." He closes the door, feeling empty. Then the homeless couple return. "We're back. How was he?" Trevor smiles. "He was an angel." They look in the crib and scream. "That's not our baby." Trevor freezes. He gave the wrong baby to social services. He sprints out of the apartment, running barefoot to catch the worker. He finds her arguing with a police officer about a parking ticket. He tries to interrupt, shouting, wrong baby," but they ignore him. He opens the car door and grabs the baby from the back seat, intending to swap them. But by the time he runs back with the correct baby, the worker has driven off, thinking the child is still in the back seat. He calls her, but gets her voicemail again. To top off the disaster, the manager calls him with an update. The manager calls Trevor with another request. She says the owners of the apartment are actually coming to spend New Year's Eve in their own home. They have no idea she hired him as a security guard nanny. She begs him not to cause any trouble and to keep up the charade until the main assistant arrives. She assures him he'll still be paid in full, but he needs to play the part. Trevor honestly couldn't care less about the owners or their drama. All he cares about is the baby and the fact that he has emphasized this address to the police multiple times. He heads back to the apartment to get ready. Suddenly, the main assistant, the one who was supposed to relieve him, calls. After a quick, "Hello, how are you?" she drops the bomb. She can't make it on time. She has a laundry list of supplies needed for the owner's arrival and asks Trevor to go to the supermarket for her. She promises to arrive as soon as possible before the owners get there. She faxes him the list. Trevor picks up the first page thinking, okay, that's a lot, but manageable. Then another page prints out, and another, and another. It's a never-ending scroll of groceries. Meanwhile, the social services worker finally checks her back seat and realizes the baby is gone. Panic mode activated. Back to Trevor at the supermarket. He is pushing a train of shopping carts, trying to fulfill every ridiculous request on the list because he's a perfectionist, and slightly stressed. He returns to the apartment building, realizing the list is absurdly extravagant. "What kind of gluttony is this?" he mutters. But being the kind soul he is, he takes some of the excess food and drops it off for the homeless couple downstairs. On his way to the elevator, he spots his missing shoe lying on the floor. He stares at it like a long-lost lover. He picks it up, finally reunited, but before he can celebrate, the dog comes sprinting down the hall, determined to reclaim his shoe. The dog's owner leaves without noticing her pet is missing. Trevor sighs. He can't chase her now. He leaves a note in the elevator saying he has the dog. He goes up to the penthouse, which is now officially a refugee camp for lost souls and babies. The dog, however, ignores everything and goes straight for a specific cut of expensive meat Trevor just bought. The dog clamps its jaws onto the meat and won't let go. Trevor tries to bribe him with his shoe-shaped keychain. The dog sucks the keychain right into its mouth. Disaster strikes. strikes. The keychain has the only elevator key card attached to it. Trevor panics, thinking the dog swallowed it. He tries to pry the dog's mouth open, but no luck. He's trapped. He waits for nature to take its course, hoping the dog will pass the key. But then he gets a crazy idea. He holds the dog up to the elevator sensor. Beep, the doors open. Trevor is relieved and probably questioning his sanity. Just as he thinks he can relax and wait for the assistant, she calls again. I'm going to be even later. Sorry. Also, can you buy New Year's decorations? And don't forget the tree. So Trevor gets a massive Christmas tree. The baby watches in awe as Trevor manages to decorate the giant thing all by himself. It's a Christmas miracle. Things start looking up. The job is almost over, and the dog finally decides to return the key card, the natural way. Trevor takes the dog out, collects the deposit in a bag, and tests it on the sensor. It works. Unfortunately, the dog's owner walks by at that exact moment and sees Trevor waving a bag of dog poop at the elevator panel. She looks at him like he belongs in an asylum. The big night is here. Trevor is ready to finish the job and get paid. Just as he's about to rest, the assistant calls again. You got the groceries, right? I'm faxing you the recipes now. The feast needs to be ready for the family exactly as requested. The fax machine starts spitting out paper like a possessed printer. After an exhausting cooking marathon, Trevor has prepared a feast fit for royalty. All by himself. He dresses the baby up and stands by the door, practicing his welcoming speech. Hours pass. No one comes. Trevor covers the food to keep it from spoiling. He calls the manager to report that no one has arrived. Being the nice guy he is, he lies and says the assistant is there with him, busy in the kitchen so she doesn't get in trouble. The manager replies casually, "Oh, didn't I tell you? The owners changed their minds. They aren't coming. I forgot to mention it. Sorry." Trevor is crushed. He put so much heart and effort into making everything perfect for them, but his disappointment turns into the best night of his life. First, the police officer arrives because the social worker reported the baby missing. When he sees the baby Trevor has, he realizes it doesn't match the photo the worker took of the wrong baby. Trevor tries to explain the mix-up, but the officer is confused. Trevor cuts him off. "Look, just forget it for a minute. Come in, join us. We have way too much food." Next, the homeless couple comes by to say hello. Trevor invites them in to eat. Then the neighbor, whose phone Trevor hijacked, comes up to drop off his apartment key for the landlord since he's moving out. Trevor invites him in too, but the best surprise is yet to come. Trevor gets a call from his ex-wife. She tells him their flight to their holiday destination got canceled, and they are stuck in London waiting for a flight back home. Trevor asks, "Wait, you're in London right now?" He immediately sends her the address. "Come over, spend the night with me." Finally, the social services worker arrives to pick up the correct baby. Suddenly, the penthouse is full of people. They ask Trevor about the baby. He smiles and says, "This little guy, smaller than my hand, is the reason we're all here together." Everyone sits down to eat. Trevor looks around, amazed at his luck. The house is full of warmth, laughter, and food. But then panic. The baby is missing again. Everyone starts searching frantically. Finally, they find him safe and sound. The movie ends with the actual owners of the apartment showing up at the door. They tell Trevor they changed their plans last minute and decided to come home after all. Trevor looks at the chaos, the strangers, the baby, the dog, the feast, and looks like he's about to have a stroke. And that concludes the storyline for this movie.